This isn't an ASMR video, by the way. Right, I've got an admission to make, and it's a difficult one to do on the channel after everything I've been saying the last fortnight. As of now, I am officially off the Enzo bus, and instead I will be celebrating the Ides of Marsch. Yes, Jesse is the man. Happy St Patrick's Day, by the way, to all our Irish viewers, and to be honest, anyone around the world that likes a drink. You know, March is only 1/12 of the year, but if we get our way this summer with our managerial appointment, we could be celebrating Marsch every single day. Life on Marsch? Maybe, who knows? And that's all the wordplays I've got with the guy's surname, so we'll move on. As you may be able to tell, I'm a little bit excited today, and it's not all down to this can of Red Bull. It is the fact that Red Bull Salzburg manager Jesse Marsch is reportedly intrigued by the prospect of managing Celtic. He's done an interview with the BBC. It was they who were reporting the quotes. Not quite sure how the interview came about, why they're just randomly interviewing Austrian managers. But the quotes are very interesting. Let's take a look at what he says and then we'll tackle them. It's an honour for me. 3 or 4 years ago, being linked with a club like Celtic would literally be an impossibility for me. And now that is where I am. I always just try to look at it in terms of what would the project look like? Would we have similar ideas on how to build it the right way, invest in the academy, invest in young players and create this development process that I'm talking about and not just focus on winning? Obviously, I know that when you're the coach of Celtic, winning is the most important thing. One of the main things people have taken from those quotes is that stuff at the end there saying that he doesn't necessarily want to focus on winning at Celtic, but I think people have been quite quick to jump on that. I think his quotes after qualified and also his career as a manager so far, let's just say he's done a hell of a lot of winning, so I think he's probably quite qualified to talk about winning and how you do it, both short and long term. So this is his second season at Red Bull Salzburg. In his first campaign, he took them to the domestic double, that's the Bundesliga, the Austrian Bundesliga, and the OFB Cup. And he's well on track to do the same again this campaign. They're 5 points clear at the top of the Austrian Bundesliga, and they're already into the final of the OFB Cup where they play Lask Linz. So effectively, he's on the verge of 2 doubles in a row, which is basically all you can do in Austria. But he also had success in his managerial career prior to that at one of the other Red Bull franchise clubs, the New York Red Bulls. He took them to the MLS Supporters Shield in 2015, and I promise you that actually is a bit better than it sounds. The Supporters Shield is effectively the regular season winner, so the team that gets the most points in the regular league season prior to the end of season playoffs that decide all the major honours in America. And that season as well, he also won the MLS Best Coach. So he's a highly sought after manager who seems to excel everywhere he goes. He's been linked with moves to the Bundesliga. He's a potential candidate to be the next manager of Red Bull Leipzig when Julian Nagelsmann undoubtedly moves on. So why would Celtic interest him so much? Well, Celtic are a far bigger club than Red Bull Salzburg. I don't even need to expand on that. And there is no reason why we couldn't replicate what Salzburg have done in recent years in Europe. On that subject, Marsch was actually the first manager to take Salzburg into the UEFA Champions League. Last season when he did it, after they'd failed 6 times, he did kind of automatically get into the group stage. So he didn't exactly achieve qualification there, but this year he did win one knockout tie to get to the group stage. When he's been in the group stage in the last couple of seasons, they've done probably what could be expected of them. They finished 3rd in each of those seasons. The first season, they were behind both Liverpool, who were the defending champions, and Napoli. Cue the famous viral clip of Marsch giving a pretty heated team talk inside Anfield.
Dein Freundschaftsspiel. Ja? Es ist ein Champions League Spiel. Wir müssen kuppelig auf dem Platz and get stuck in with.
This season in the Champions League, they finished 3rd behind Atletico Madrid and the current champions Bayern Munich. So they've kind of done what was expected of them there. Obviously finishing 3rd in the Champions League groups means that you drop into the Europa League. And to be honest, maybe one of the few black marks looking from the outside against Marsch in the last couple of seasons have been that they've failed spectacularly in the round of 32 of the Europa League. Brendan Rodgers style. Last season they were eliminated 6-3 on aggregate by Eintracht Frankfurt, while this campaign they lost by a 3-goal margin to Villarreal. But on the subject of the Europa League, Marsch has actually visited Celtic Park for a match day, and he was actually involved in the visiting team. It wasn't with Red Bull Salzburg, but it was in that same crazy Europa League group where we also were in the group with RB Leipzig. Marsch was the assistant manager of Leipzig at that stage to Ralf Rangnick, who's also been kind of linked by Celtic fans with some sort of role at the club. We obviously beat Leipzig 2-1 that night, so is it perhaps that Marsch fell in love with the club that night? Let's be honest, I'm trying to, put these ideas into your head, but it's nice to dream, eh? But the big question surrounding any potential manager of Celtic is, does he know the city? Well, actually, Marsch does, because believe it or not, Scotland was the place where he got his coaching badges. Been reading a little bit into this, and it seems like the University of Stirling was where he was mainly based while he was getting his coaching licence with the SFA. And he was also based at Hampden Park, which happens to be in Glasgow. That's where Celtic play. So yes, he does know the city. Dialing it back a wee bit, Marsch's comments are genuinely quite interesting. And the reason I say that is that he's not just paying lip service to the reports or the rumours that he could be Celtic manager. He's not just saying, they're a big club, but I'm happy here. He actually went into detail about the kind of stuff he would be interested to find out about Celtic. This is a guy who would very much pick the phone up if he was phoned by Dominic Mackay about being the next Celtic manager. Yes, there's a lot of things we would have to iron out. I believe he's got another year to run on his contract with Salzburg. It runs out in the middle of 2022, so we would have to pay some sort of compensation. Yes, there's likely to be probably bigger jobs in Celtic going in better leagues this summer, where Marsch will be contenders for, so we'd have to kind of ride that wave out as well. But it's a bit interesting that he actually commented on this and went in depth on the size of the club and the fact he would be honoured to be our manager. So will Celtic approach Marsch? Will Marsch even register on Celtic's shortlist? Will Celtic pay compensation for a guy who still has a year to run? Those are all big questions that we don't really know the answer for, and the general tone of the Celtic fans, with good reason, seems to be quite negative towards the club's board in bringing in a top level manager. I think that's mainly because Neil Lennon and the way we appointed him, the fact that was such an easy appointment to make, the least line of resistance, the obvious candidate, and obviously it crashed and burned eventually as a result. But I do think it is important to look at the two previous managerial appointments prior to Neil Lennon. Brendan Rodgers was a major appointment for Celtic, and we got the rewards as a result. He was Northern Irish, yes, he claimed to be a Celtic fan, but he didn't really have any general links to Celtic. He hadn't been a player here, he hadn't been a coach here prior, so that was a manager we went and got, and it was a real catch for the club, and we saw the results. Ronny Deila didn't have the same results, and eventually it turned out to be a bit of a failure for him at the club, but you can't exactly say he was the easy option, he was the least line of resistance. He was a manager who was doing well in another league in Europe, Norway, which is kind of similar, not quite as good, but similar to the Austrian league, and we went and got him from there and brought him to Celtic. So this board does have a bit of history for thinking outside the box with some managerial appointments. And that's the worst case scenario. That's if Peter Law's even involved in appointing our next manager, which I kind of think that he shouldn't be, and I kind of think he won't be. So I'm nearly finished my can, so I should probably wrap up this video, and I'm going to do it by just tempering expectations a little. I still don't think that Jesse Marsch will be the next Celtic manager. I just think there's too many obstacles in our way. But I do think that the fact that he's made these comments should make Celtic and Celtic's fans sit up and take notice and realise that we are still a major club. We are still a really attractive job for a certain level of manager. And this isn't a manager who's on the way down in his career and will take any kind of last payday. This is a guy who is very much on the ascendancy, and he is genuinely interested by Celtic. And if he's interested, who else is interested. That's the final thing I'll leave you with. In fact, it's not the final thing, because I just want to pay mention to this book, Wings of Change, which is written by Karen Tejwani, which is excellent. It's a brilliant look into Red Bull and how they made their mark on the European football scene. It's a great read, even if there's no Celtic interest at all, but there's a few mentions of Celtic in the book, and there's a lot on Jesse Marsch, so you can probably get that where you want, and it's a really good read, and it can increase your knowledge on Jesse Marsch, who may well be a future Celtic manager. Who knows? I'm going to keep drinking my Red Bull anyway.